Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I want to focus this video on the topic of ageism and why you need to stop worrying about it. Now, I know that that could be kind of crazy to a lot of you out there because frankly, there's a lot of people in the career industry, right, career coaching or related industries that they make a huge living preying on the fear of ageism. If you're someone who's in your 50s or your 60s and you're in the midst of a job search or looking to find or create a new opportunity, you've probably been exposed to a lot of these articles and videos out there. Stuff that teaches you how to jump through the right hoops to keep this great big negative, this great big liability somehow of your age in check. And I'm here to tell you all of that, or most of it, is BS. It's garbage, and you need to just excise that from your vocabulary. Let me sort of set the stage here so you understand what I'm talking about. So, I've spent a little over 10 years now as a career coach. Easily about half of the people I work with happen to be people in their 50s or 60s. They are quote unquote, second actors, or they're looking to make a big career change. Maybe they've been happily employed for a long period of time, but now they're at a place where they need to actually engineer something. They need to make something happen. Maybe you want more work-life balance. Maybe you want more rewards. Maybe you just want more of a payoff for all of the years of work. Anyway, you're in this zone here, right? And you're testing out the waters. And let me give you an example of what most people in that situation will do. They're going to start by just dipping their toes into the water. So maybe they start by sending a couple of resumes out there, right? Just to see what's going to happen. And for most of them, not much is going to happen. So they're going to start worrying now about your age, right? How old am I? How is that affecting? Maybe people are looking at how long my work history is stretching back and they're getting worried about it. So now is when you start making your resume more generic. You start lopping off great, incredible years of experience because you think, I'm competing against that younger candidate, the myth of this younger candidate. And so you start making your resume, your LinkedIn profile, all of these core elements of your platform, you start making them washed out and generic. And you start blasting out your resume and applying for everything. And maybe what started as a very tight list of jobs that are what you want, now you're just going after anything that'll give you an interview. You're just blasting it out there everywhere. And the interactions that you have are with generic HR people, right? People who don't care about your work history. They don't care about your perspective. They are entirely in the business of minimizing the company's risk and comparing you and commoditizing you with everybody else there. And that feeds into the negativity, right? So you start making your platform more generic. You start applying for less and less attractive jobs. You start accepting and compromising with yourself before you ever go out there. And so now you're stuck in this negative loop. That just goes over and over and over again. And I see people many a time come to me when they're at that stage, when their ego, their confidence, and indeed their vision of the future has taken a real hit. And that's the wrong thing to do. Going down that road is to essentially be manipulated by big corporate interests because that's what they want. They want you, as you get older, not to come into a fuller embrace of who you are and your singular power and value. They want you to run scared. They want you to always be running scared of the ghost around the corner, And you can call it an older candidate. You can call it a too high salary. You can call it making too big of a jump. But understand that at the heart of that is a company or corporate interests trying to make you feel weak and steal your power. And so the right thing to do here is to go in the complete opposite direction of what you think is safe, of what you think is prudent. When you are an older candidate, you do not have the luxury of being prudent. You do not have the safety of being one of many because you are not playing a volume game here. You're not playing a numbers game. You are talking a quality game. In other words, you're not a Walmart. You are a boutique shop that sells things for a very, very high price, right? And so you've got to be extremely selective about who comes through your doors. You're not Walmart that is accepting anybody. That is not a game that you can win. In fact, that is a game that almost nobody can win, but at least you can deal with the poverty and the sacrifice of that approach when you're young and you have less to lose. You don't have that, right? You're the boutique shop. So you as a boutique shop, how should you approach this? Number one, okay, and this is the big problem that people run into, is you need to benchmark the right people, because your brand has got to be bold and it's got to be unique, right? And so I want you to ask yourself, the people, I always think that you should have your pulse on your competition. No matter who you are, what your line of work is, you need to know if these are the roles that I'm going after. Right down to the LinkedIn profile URLs of people who have what you want. But you got to make sure that you're benchmarking the right people. If you're 55 years old and you've spent 30 years, in the, logistics and supply, industry, and you're looking to make one big leap there, then the person that you should be looking at is not some young superstar with 10 years of experience. You need to be looking at people who have roughly similar backgrounds to yourself, who have that big story to tell. And if you're making a big industry shift, you should look at people who have, again, that history and have made that industry shift. Look for people who are closer to where you're at. Don't just go by what job title they have, because a lot of times the trajectory of someone who's like this and is hitting it 10 years in, that's a totally different thing. Right? And it's only going to undercut your confidence if you're benchmarking the wrong people. So benchmark the right people and now start studying how they're telling their story, right? One big thing you're going to notice for people who have more history and really are working at the peak of their performance and at the highest level, they are never making it about just their experience. They are never making it just about their skills and what they can do. They are always meshing experience with vision. Because the vision piece is where all of those decades and years went. Because you are more than just this. You're more than just a bunch of skills. You have the skills and the vision, wisdom, however you want to call it. And both of these things have to be there. So as you're telling your story in your resume, as you're telling your story in your LinkedIn profile, and certainly as you're telling your story in the interview, and indeed sharing stories that are meant to deliver value, always mesh experience with perspective. Always infuse it with the way that you see things, because that is something that is precious and very unique and something that people are looking for in older candidates. So benchmark the right people and be bold with your brand. Be bold with what you're presenting. Really, if you're disagreeing with something, you see something in a really, unique way, run with it. It's better for someone to look at that and say, wow, that's interesting, than it is for someone to be like, I don't even remember 5 seconds after moving your resume what you were talking about, right? So be bold, err on the side of boldness, and do it by benchmarking the highly visible people who have lived a life like you and are older candidates like you. Don't benchmark the wrong type of person there. Secondly, build relationships with the right people. You, as an older candidate who's looking for something here, you do not need to be in a room with some 25-year-old HR person. It's just a waste of your time. You do not need to be in a group interview setting where you're commoditized right from the get-go. These are the wrong people that you should be going after. I want you to think about who are people who are highly placed enough at these companies that they can get you the in, where they can say, yeah, you know what? Jim or Bob or Sarah, they've got something here. I've been chatting with him or her, and their perspective on this is something that is truly unique here. I think we need to have a conversation with them. So oftentimes that's going to be someone who you would be reporting to, so a superior. A lot of times it could also be people who are at your seniority level but are working at divisions that are closely aligned with that. If you're in sales, maybe marketing, biz dev, right? These are all closely kind of playing ball in the same area. These are the people that I would recommend connecting with at companies you want to be doing business with, right? Connect with them on LinkedIn, warm them up, and attempt to get them on the phone, make those real relationships. Those are the people that should be on your call log, people who can get you the in, people who can get you coming in as an internal reference. Forget about, comparing yourself and coming in with the flood of job applicants. You really need to go in a totally different direction, because the other way is a recipe for ageism. It's a recipe for being compared negatively and have all of your positives be stripped away. When you go at it from a one-on-one level and you're talking with power players, they're going to be infinitely more able to see what you bring to the table. And the third one is for this negative loop. The best defense against a negative loop, against feeling like you're being passed by, and you're always trying to like contort yourself to fit something else. The best defense against that is to have your voice be out there in a regular basis. Here's something simple that you can do. Share one post a day on LinkedIn. Okay, share an article, ask a question of your network, share something once per day, and make a commitment to engage with 5 people in your network. An easy thing you can do, you can look at the notifications when you sign into LinkedIn. You'll see whose birthdays in your network, who's celebrating a birthday. Say happy birthday. That counts as one. You'll see the people who started a new job. Congratulate them on your job. And don't send the generic message that LinkedIn will pre-populate. Take a second to actually just send a customized message. Connect, invigorate relationships with 5 people per day and share one piece of content. In other words, one status update on LinkedIn. You're going to see positive ramifications of that. You're going to see positive feedback. You're going to get that interplay going, and you want that every single day. You want that hit of professional validation. It's going to remind you of who you really are. I'm going to end with one last thing, and it's going to sound a little weird, I know, but bear with me. When I was, in my college years, and I didn't really have anything, I spent a lot of time in bars, and sometimes, you'd have someone who had too much to drink looking to start a fight, right? And I remember, people trying to get up in my face and try to start something. And what I realized was, if someone comes to you with aggression, right, they're looking at you in that way, but you completely do not acknowledge that. In other words, you're coming to me with aggression and all of that. I'm treating you totally like a friend, like someone who I'm just tickled pink by, and I'm inviting you over here and I'm treating you as a friend. I'm conversing you, as a friend. Then that other person's aggression, 99% of the time, is going to just go away, because it takes an enormous amount of will to force a vision on something when the other person is not reciprocated. Ageism is exactly the same thing. In other words, it's only real when you start structuring your life and your career, activities around that. When you start playing defense with this golem, the golem is going to become real. So now it is the time for you to really say to yourself, that's not real. That's an illusion. What I call ageism is actually me copping out in a way, because there are actions that I can take in terms of my brand, in terms of who I'm building relationships with, and in terms of the positive engagement and feedback that I do through my network and in establishing myself. These are all actions that I can take. And when I take those actions, ageism disappears. Know that. This is a absolutely eliminatable, if that's a word, eliminatable problem. Will you have the courage to take the actions, to be bold, to strike up the right relationships, to make that a reality? Or will you sort of do what so many do, which is use that word ageism to accept less than you deserve? Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for being a part of my tribe. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.